Forum Ekonomiczne w Karpaczu, Studio Rzeczpospolitej. Witam Państwa, Marcin Piasecki. Jest ze mną gość, pan Stephan Schraff, Head Public Affairs European Union z firmy Bayer. Good afternoon and thank you for coming.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm happy to
Let's
hear
talk
you.
about Europe. Europe slow down in comparison to other regions. What are the most important elements of this trend?
Yeah, indeed. And unfortunately, I have to agree. I mean, we as a global company, of course, look at all regions, all countries across the globe. And if we compare, we indeed see a downturn in the European Union, especially when it comes to investment in innovation, in developing new products. And I can give you a concrete figure here as well. I mean, if we compare, and these are figures actually provided by the European Commission, if we compare the share of investment in innovation between the big three regions, US, China, and the EU, we see that the EU has significantly declined. Over the last 20 years, we see a decline of roughly about 25%. So that's big. That's big. If I transfer that to our area of activity, life sciences, pharmaceuticals, a good figure to capture that is really the amount of clinical trials that we do, because that shows how much innovation is happening in a region. And also here specifically in Europe, we see a decline over the same period of roughly 7%. So while others are growing, China really outpacing, the European Union is falling behind.
And how to reverse this trend? Is it possible? What is the Bayer vision as innovative company?
Absolutely. I think we are at heart a European company. Our history is, in essence, first a European one before it became a global one. So we're very much dedicated to Europe, and we think Europe has the capabilities of changing that trend, definitely. I think we still have very well-educated employees here in the European Union, good scientific basis. I think what's lacking is really transferring that into products and putting them on the European market. But I think there are possibilities to change that trend. And I think also if we look at the European Commission, there is an understanding that competitiveness and strengthening competitiveness is key now for the next term.
But what is the most important in this process of regaining competitiveness? Money, legislation? What is the most important?
Well, to be honest, probably both to some extent. I think the Inflation Reduction Act of the United States was a wake-up call for the European Union. We suddenly realized in Europe that other regions actually are also investing a lot of money now in the business models of the future. So it is also to some extent about money, because in the European Union we are using substantial funds as well, but we have not, after the IRA, put additional money into that. We have relabeled some of the programs, but there is no new money going into it. So yes, money is a thing, but regulation is even more important. Quite honestly, we see a lot of incoherence of regulation at the European level. I think we all agree that there was an avalanche of new legislation coming through the Green Deal, and some of that, from our point of view, was quite incoherent. Let me give you a concrete example. I mean, the European Union very clearly defined as a goal that we want to be less dependent on other regions, on other countries, when it comes to providing healthcare and pharmaceutical products to our patients. That's the big goal. On the other side, we have now legislation coming our way, which basically decreases IP protection for pharmaceutical companies in Europe, and therefore disincentivizes actually to have more innovation here in Europe, rather putting it than to the US. So there are these incoherences which I think we need to be aware of, and I think that's one of the tasks which the next mandate will really have to address.
So let's talk about another legislation process, Green Deal. It is very important process for Europe, very important for, of course, agriculture, for example. But should the Green Deal be modified?
I think what we need is, in parallel to the Green Deal, actually a competitiveness deal. So what do I mean by that? The Green Deal the ambitions of the Green Deal are going in the right direction from our point of view. Mm-hmm. So it's not about the goals. Mm-hmm. It's about defining reliable transition pathways for sectors, for industries, to actually go from here to the new, more sustainable business models. I think there we lack credibility at the moment and predictability at the moment. And I think that's something that the new Commission will have to take into account. I give you another example, specifically NGTs, new genomic techniques. We think that biotechnology offers huge solutions, whether we look at new treatments for patients, whether we look at the agricultural side to develop new plants that are actually adapted to the weather conditions that we have here in Karpacz as well. So we have a changing climate, and with biotechnology, with new biotechnological methods, we can develop plants much more quickly that are adapted to these conditions. On the other hand, the legislation that is now going through the process foresees that there would be no patent protection for any innovations that we would develop in that regard, and that will not go together. So that's why I'm saying we really need a more innovation-minded framework and regulation in the European Union.
And what do you think about free global trade? Isn't important?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think free trade, free rule-based trade is still a major foundation for our activities as a company, and I think also for the European Union at large. Mm-hmm. We are a continent that historically has been trading with other regions, and very successfully so. So I think there is a strong case to be made that we should continue going down that route. And actually, I think the European Union has to be, again, seen as a reliable partner for other regions, to be a trading partner. We understand in Europe that, for example, on critical raw materials, we're very much dependent on other regions. So we need close collaboration with such regions in order to supply our demands. And for that, we need to be a credible partner for trade agreements like Mercosur or also with Australia.
But your company, Bayer, calls for a sustainable competitiveness. What does it mean in detail?
So what we mean by sustainable competitiveness is going back a little bit to what I outlined already. I think we need more to do more in Europe, really, to facilitate innovation, to facilitate collaboration. Again, if I take the example of biotech, we have biotech hubs in Spain, we have biotech hub in Belgium, in Germany, but accelerating the collaboration between these hotspots, that is, I think, a task that we need to address better. Just to give you one concrete example. And the other thing is, of course, simplifying administration, reducing the administrative burden, and also becoming simply quicker in the processes that we steer. Again, to give you a concrete example, I think we all agree that we would like to see in agriculture a stronger use of biopesticides. That's a common goal that we share as a company as well, and we strongly are active in developing such new tools. But if we look at the regulatory frame today, it should take about 3 years to bring such a new product to the market. The reality is that we today need 5 to 10 years to bring one new product to the market. That's simply far too long.
Okay, so let's talk about AI. AI is very important in the life science sector, more and more important. And what about regulation? How should policymakers address that challenge?
Indeed, artificial intelligence is a very important tool for us in many aspects, primarily of course, in R&D again. If I look at developing new treatments that are really patient-focused and designed for individual patients even, also in combination with cell and gene therapies, which are really the next step from our point of view in the innovation when it comes to pharmaceutical products, where we are heavily investing. On the other side, agriculture, precision agriculture, where farmers will have the possibilities in the future to use much less inputs because they can be much more precise. Also, these models are dependent on artificial intelligence and tools in that direction. So it is very important for us. Well, looking at regulation, again, I think it's important to address this topic of fragmentation that we have in Europe. Again, a concrete example. If we have, for example, patient trials that we do, there is one piece of regulation which addresses that, but it's implemented differently in different member states. So it's very difficult actually to do cross-border trials because the committees that look at the applications, they interpret the legislation in a different way, and therefore that really hampers our activities cross-border.
But what are the most important areas of the regulation connected with AI?
For us, one key element is the European health data space. The European health data space would allow for the secondary use, the so-called secondary use of data, which means you can use anonymized, of course, patient data for research to really advance in developing new therapies. And the example that I gave you is actually from that area. So it's about the horizontal and the same implementation of such legislation in all member states. The latter report on the single market, which just came out before the summer, addresses this fact by actually suggesting a 28th regulatory regime in the European Union, which big companies and smaller companies could actually then refer to, which would be applicable and would need to be acceptable in all member states. That would be a very good suggestion and a big step forward in having a harmonized implementation of EU regulation across the board.
Here in Karpacz, you are a speaker at the panel discussion Polish-German tandem. What does it mean? What do you think about this type of partnership?
So, I mean, if I look at Poland, to be honest, Poland has a success story to deliver. The Polish economy has significantly grown and really outpaced many other European economies. So I think Poland is, in a way, really leading the pace when it comes to competitiveness. Now, the European Union, of course, is always about finding a common solution among the 27 member states. So in the end, it's about having that debate at European level, but it always needs someone suggesting ideas. And there, I think the Polish-German tandem or the Weimar Triangle, including France, could actually play such a role of providing ideas which will then be discussed, of course, by all the member states because everyone has a say in that debate.
And what opportunities does the Polish presidency in EU to create the something new values in the areas we are talking about?
I mean, the Polish presidency comes at a crucial moment because the Commission, the new Commission, will really present its new program and its priorities in the coming months. And the Polish presidency will be the first presidency then really to shape the concrete implementation. So I think the Polish presidency, as I said, really is at a crucial moment. And given the fact that you have been very successful in driving the economy, I think you could also spearhead this initiative of driving more competitiveness in the European Union.
So we hope. Thank you. Thank you for interview. Moim gościem był pan Stephan Schraff z firmy Bayer.